Yo, Doormen, what's good? Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the Doormen Podcast. I'm your host, Chief, and you may notice we've got a new mic arm contraption here. I figured it would make more sense than something coming up this way, taking up more space. We'll see how it goes. Today, this is episode 13 of the Doormen Podcast. Today's a little bit something different. We're not going to be diving into any videos today, but today I want to talk a bit about doormen in general. A lot of people have asked me, Chief, what does it mean to be a doorman? Why did you choose the name doorman? And it's many things all coming together into one. So I want to dive into that very briefly today on this episode and explain the thought process behind doorman. Now, at face value, a doorman is a person, in my mind, when I see a doorman, it's somebody who stands at the door. It's somebody who is a guardian and a protector, right? So on its face, a doorman is somebody who protects the door. You have door guys at any place where they're selling things of value. They're a doorman. There are people who are there to hold the line. And the doorman is not just there to kick people out. He's a standard. He holds a standard for that location, whether it's dress code, whether it's behavior, whether it's whatever it is, the doorman is there to decide what comes and what goes, right? So there's a protection aspect of it. Also, the doorman at an establishment, not only is he the first line of defense, which is important, but he's also the first impression. So when you look and you come up to a place, the first person you see is the doorman, and the way that he presents himself, the way that he treats you, the way that interaction goes. As they say, you only get one chance at a first impression. That's going to determine the way you see that business oftentimes. It can make or break your thoughts behind that business. So when I think of a doorman, I see somebody who is a key and pivotal person for any business. He is the face. He is the protector. These are two major things. So that's one piece of it. The other piece is, and we're going to go a little bit deeper here, that's base level. Every single one of us is a doorman in our own life. Okay, so even if you don't work in the profession of security, if you're not a protector daily, based on what you do for work, you're the doorman of your own life, because we each stand at the door of our minds. We stand at the door of our lives, and we decide what comes, what goes. We decide what's allowed to stay. We decide what influences we allow to open ourselves up to. And so being a doorman is more so a way of life to me. It's about creating an ecosystem around yourself that protects and guards your gates. That's going to lead to you becoming the best version of yourself possible. And so in our lives, I want us to take that stance of, being intentional about what we decide to engage in, what we decide to watch, what we decide to listen to, and most importantly, what we decide to speak and say out of our mouths. We all know the power of life and death is in the power of the tongue. So our gates oftentimes are what leads to our demise, right? The way you think, the things you see determine your attitude, ultimately what you say. How many times have we seen people's mouths get them in trouble, right? And you can look at it from a standpoint of just negative confessions about yourself and saying, limiting beliefs and things like that don't help. Or even in a situation, you use your words and your mouth in a way that is unproductive, and it leads to more destruction. It leads to chaos. And so the way we use this tool of our mouth is extremely important. The things we decide to see, what we allow ourselves, what we open up our gates to see, determines the way that we feel, determines the energy that we operate in. And so, I don't want to get too deep on you, but being a doorman is just a person who is conscious about the things that he allows around him or herself and is very intentional with those things, choosing to speak words of life and affirmation about himself, herself, and about those around them and about the situations that they're in, speaking life over people, watching things that are good. So yeah, just being the guardian of the gates of your life. There's a scripture that I love that says an undisciplined man is his mind like a great city whose walls have been destroyed. It's something along those lines. I'll put the actual verse on the screen. You can't have a great city. You can't have a big city with a lot of valuables and things like that inside it. It has to have strong walls. It has to have strong gates to keep out people who aren't supposed to be in there, right? It is actually what defines a strong city. It's based around how strong its walls are, how hard it is to get in. And you better believe at the places where there are people who come and go, at those gates, at those doors, there are doormen, there are strong men who are there ready to protect, and they are judging each person that comes and goes. You have to qualify to get in here. You have to meet a standard. And if you come in and you don't meet that standard, you will be turned around. And so I want you to just keep that visual with you as you operate in your daily life. Be vigilant about the people, the things that you let around you, and also be constantly evaluating. Sometimes we outgrow things, sometimes we outgrow people, and you've got to care about yourself enough to say, this thing has to go now. Maybe it was okay for a time, but I've outgrown it. Or I don't want to be this type of person anymore. So I have to let this thing go. And that's okay. And that's the way that it should be. So stand guard at the gates of your mind. Stand guard at the gates of your life, your family, your kids. Be the doorman of your ecosystem. Be the doorman of your family. And I think that that's a mindset that more of us should take. So when I say doorman, when I say my fellow doorman, it's not just speaking to protectors. I'm more so speaking to the people who are of like mind, the people who are very deliberate in the way that they live their life. And so that is, in a nutshell, where I got doorman from. Like, comment, share, subscribe, man. We're already up to almost 600 subscribers, and that's pretty good. So, doorman, I appreciate you guys checking in. Hope this answered your question, and that is my time. This has been episode 13 of the Doormen Podcast. I'm Chief, and I will see you next time.